This is the RV Advisor Podcast with your host, Tom Alexander. Get all the latest information, trends, advice from experts, stories from the road, and more in the world of recreational vehicles. Now, here's Tom.
Welcome to the RV Advisor Podcast. My name is Tom Alexander, and joining me today, it is the managing editor of the RV Repair Club. It's Dave Solberg. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Tom. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. I know you're on the road, and you are a lot, I guess. You're in Raleigh, North Carolina right now, so you got
Correct.
a few minutes to chat with. What are you doing in Raleigh, by the way?
Well, we're doing a show, and I actually have a few minutes to chat because they had a little snowstorm, a little dusting, and people out here go crazy, and so they had to push the opening back 2 hours. And I'm from Iowa, and this is what we get in July. So, so we're doing an RV. They have the North Carolina RV Dealers Association show, and we're in Raleigh this weekend, and we have over 200 units, and I do seminars. At the shows, we have 15 different seminars that I conduct. Oh,
that's great. Yeah, it seems that anywhere south of Richmond, if it snows just a little bit, it's panic city, right? It gets a little crazy. They're not exactly sure how to handle it. I've experienced that firsthand driving through the Carolinas and Southern Virginia during a little bit of a snow squall.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, so tell us a little bit about the RV Repair Club. What is the primary function of the RV Repair Club?
Well, the primary function of it is to help educate consumers that are both looking for buying a new or used, or people that have an RV. And I would say the biggest probably percentage of our registered members and registered participants are owners, and it's about repair, maintenance, upgrades. When the company that runs it, it's TN Marketing. They've got 15 other communities. They have Fix My Hog and photography, and they were seeing a lot of people buying RVs to support those hobbies. And so that was when they contacted me and said, we want to provide information. And my first concern was when we said RV repair, it kind of raises the flag with the manufacturers and everybody, but it's the number one search tag on the internet right now because everybody's looking at how do these things work. And so our videos and articles and blogs are about repair, maintenance, upgrades, a lot of how it works. Right now we're supplying CoachNet with articles and videos, and they're saying that CoachNet is the number one service provider, technical service, on-the-road service. And they're seeing that a big majority of their calls for people that are broken down or something's not working, it's just they don't know how it works. But in their opinions, it's still broken down. So that's a big emphasis is education. First of all, let's teach people how it works so that hopefully it won't quit working or break down, and what to do to keep maintained and prevent that stuff from happening, like tires and batteries and refrigerators, and then troubleshooting as well.
Yeah, and you just mentioned tires, and I know there was a few things, including tires, that you had come across on the RV Advisor site, and a couple bullet points that you had a little bit of points of contention with, and I'd like to hear a little bit about that. Let's do that right after this break. This is the RV Advisor Podcast. Back in a moment.
Meet Terry and Carrie. They want an RV. Really, they want the freedom that comes with being able to pick up whenever they want and to move from one breathtaking view to another. The kind of freedom that takes them across the country and beyond, living their dream. But if they buy the wrong RV, it might actually pop their dream world. Maybe they pick one that's too heavy to tow for their vehicle, or go with the wrong dealership who won't service their RV. There are questions to ask before they buy, and even more once they become an owner. Thankfully, there's the RV Advisor, the only non-biased platform for information for the RV and outdoor enthusiasts. Get the best tips, tricks, and discounts at all KOA nationwide campgrounds, and other huge discounts that every RV enthusiast will love. Now, Terry and Carrie are living the life exactly how they want.
Visit thervadvisor.com or call 833-229-0911. back on the RV Advisor podcast. My guest is the managing editor of the RV Repair Club. It's Dave Solberg. And Dave, I know that the desire actually to speak with you sort of came out of some information that you had found on the RV Advisor website that you had some issues with, and I'd like to hear a little bit about that and kind of unearth a little bit about what you had an issue with, actually, specifically, and I know that tires were one of them.
Well, yeah, and I don't. It was just a concern, and there's a lot of information floating around the internet, and anybody can write anything that's out there, and one of the main issues that I would still say out in the market is tires. And my folks were just as bad. They went off on their first camping trip with an RV, and they went and they sat around the campfire, and they came back and said, "Oh, I got to get rid of these Michelin tires. They're junk. They're blowing out all over the place, and get Coopers." And I was working at Winnebago at the time, and we were seeing a fairly alarming situation with tires and loss of pressure, and not just a blowout, but loss of pressure and wear. And so we partnered up with Michelin and Goodyear at the time and started doing some studies. And it really kind of came to fruition at the time. John Anderson, a gentleman that retired from the Navy and bought a fifth wheel and had a huge problem with tires blowing out. And finally, Michelin brought him in. They weighed his coach, and they found out he was extremely over the gross vehicle weight rating of the RV and of the tire itself. And so there was no education back then. There was no weight stickers. There was, they get these great big massive compartments, and the misconception is you can't fill them completely full. You have to know your weights, and your tires are very vulnerable to not only how much weight you put into them, but also how much the air pressure and checking the pressure every day. So John went out and started weighing coaches, and over 75% of the coaches that he weighed were overloaded, and over 75% are underinflated. And so we were seeing a lot of tire. Well, if you're 10 pounds less than recommended pressure on your tire, then you reduce your carrying capacity by 25%. So here we are, overloading coaches, underinflating tires, and yes, there was a lot of tire issues out in the market, and it started getting that rumor that, well, those Michelins are they're no good for the RV industry. You need to put Coopers on. Well, no, you're masking the problem. And even today, John then started RV Safety Education Foundation, and it is being run out of Merritt Island, Florida. They have weighed over, I think it's 65,000 RVs in the last 5 or 6 years, and still almost 50% of those are either overloaded or underinflated. And so people are just automatically saying, all those junk tires in China. Well, there are some manufacturers that when the RV industry skyrockets, that they jump in and start putting inferior products in. And my biggest thing when I do the seminars for the RV Buyer Seminar, the biggest thing I tell people is the industry right now, people are just looking at price.
Yeah.
They're not looking at what's in there. You can't buy a $2 shirt at Walmart and expect to wash it 50 times,
Right.
And
right.
a lot of particle board, a lot of paneling. So the manufacturers are thinking, well, you got two units sitting side by side, and one's $6,000, $7,000 less, or $50,000 in a diesel pusher, and people aren't educating themselves properly. Then manufacturers are looking at, well, do I have to play that game?
Yeah.
And there are some tires that are cheaper tires, but even Michelin, Michelin does have a factory in China, but it's because they can't get enough production out of the United States right now, and so they're looking at other areas. Just because they come from China doesn't mean they're terrible.
Right.
Right.
But, so overall, you feel that that on a whole that the Chinese tire products are meet solid standards, or are in general?
Well, what I look at is more of the manufacturers and the dealers, and the good manufacturers, the good dealers are going to demand a good tire and to go with a name brand. I like the Goodyear Marathons in the trailer side. I like the Michelins and the Goodyears on the RV side. You're seeing Bridgestone, Firestone, Toyo. So there are some knockoff stuff, but it's like with anything. If you go down to Costco or some kind, and I'm not picking on Costco, but a lot of these places sell a marine/RV battery or a trailer tire, so to speak, and it's $89. And that's the biggest feature of that. It's $89.
Yeah.
It's not that it's going to last. It's not that it's going to hold the weight. It's not that it's going to be able to take the biggest thing with tires, three things: pressure, weight, and letting them sit out in the sun, and they dry rot.
Yeah.
And so if you don't take care of your tires, you will have problems. And that's part of what our education was, is to make sure people understand that you leave that sitting out for more than a day, you need to cover that tire.
Yeah. We're speaking with Dave Solberg. He is the managing editor of the RV Repair Club. And Dave, I know also another point of contention that you had, or just concern in general, was sealants, and that we had felt that a lot of manufacturers aren't really properly sealing the units coming out of their departments there, and it's that's what's your take on that?
Well, I don't agree with that, because I've done videos for about 7 or 8 different RV manufacturers, and I've seen what they're doing as they're going down the line. And at the end of the line, almost every manufacturer that I know of does a water test, some kind of a like Winnebago has a water booth that sprays from 360 degrees. It has jets all over the place, and they put these things in there for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then once a week they put one in overnight. Other companies use what's called SealTech. It actually pressurizes the unit from the inside. But what you run into is, and again, it's the misconception of these things. Somebody buys a unit, they take it off the dealer lot, and it has leaks, so they automatically say, well, the manufacturer never sealed it. And what's happening is that you've got a unit that is going to have fiberglass, it's going to have plastic, it's going to have aluminum, it's got rubber roofs, it's got all these different materials.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have sealants that are using butyl tape and the silicone that's designed for fiberglass and rubber and so forth. And when you let a unit sit at a dealer lot and the temperature drops down to 0 degrees, like it has here in Raleigh and Iowa, that all those components go down to 0. And then when it gets up to 60 or 70 or 80, all those components then expand and contract, and all those sealants pull with that stuff. And it's something that you have to watch and you have to look at. There's no way you can keep that from happening. You think of your house. You've got the same components in your house, but you leave it at 70 degrees all the time inside.
Right.
And so now you're taking an RV and you're letting it go up and down. I have literally seen a roof material expand and contract about 2 inches that we marked when I was at Winnebago. And so you look at ways, okay, how do I seal that? And we came up with what's called a J channel that is literally shaped in a J, and as that material expands and contracts differently, it rides in that channel, and that sealant rides with it. But the more you let it sit out in the sun and bake, and you don't condition the rubber membranes and stuff, the more you can run into issues with that. So, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you: is there sort of like a sweet spot in terms of, ideal temperatures, ideal conditions for longer lasting, sealant, and that's going to be more friendly to that situation? Is there sort of a temperature range or condition range? Well, humidity,
anything above 50 degrees is ideal for sealants and paints and all that type of stuff. But it's you can't always do that. Although you have to put it in a temperature controlled building, and that costs a fortune. But one of the things you can do is, first of all, you've got to make sure you check the sealants twice a year at least. Mm-hmm. Check the rubber membrane, condition it. Anytime you start to see anything that's starting to crack or look like it's pulling away, you need to take care of that. But a big thing is when you're storing it in the wintertime or even almost any time, get a cover. ADCO makes a very inexpensive cover, $400 or $500, and you keep that sun off of it. You keep you think about letting rain and wind or rain and snow get on top of the roof of your RV and on the sealants, and then when it freezes, it's gonna expand.
Right.
You let water freeze in a hose, you're gonna bust the hose.
Yeah. Yeah.
or a copper pipe, and then yet we're having the same issues on the top. So the more you can take care of that stuff, the less you'll have problems with. And I'm not saying we don't have problems out there, but a lot of it can be reduced by understanding what should I do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's very interesting, and I know that our founder Gigi Stetler has a few slightly different perspective, if you will, on some of that.
Yeah.
But it'd be great to have the two of you talk a little bit on a future show coming up soon. We'd love to have you both on and sort of share your own personal experiences and see where the common ground is and also where the differences are, because I think it's important that people hear different stories and different levels of experiences. So, well, listen.
One thing I do want to say is I'm not trying to mask the issue that there are. There are some quality issues. There are some people have had some problems with it. But I think the more you can educate yourself on what you can do to reduce that stuff, you're going to have a much more enjoyable RV experience. You can't just walk into it like a car.
Yeah, well, that we all agree on. That's for sure. The more you educate yourself, the better you're going to do, the happier you're going to be, and I think we can certainly all agree on that. Well, Dave, we really do appreciate your time, and thank you so much for coming on the RV Advisor podcast.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Anytime.
Look forward to having you again. This is the RV Advisor podcast. My name is Tom Alexander. We'll see you next time. So long, everybody.